from the Asian Community Development Council. This is Family in Focus, Mondays at 12 noon on PHLV Radio.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Family in Focus. My name is Patranya Poonswan. This is another episode of the show that we really get into the Asian American experience and different issues and topics affecting us on a weekly basis. And today we're going to be talking about an issue that I think a lot of people are talking about, especially when it comes to their family finances, how they've been affected, especially with the pandemic. It's about eating healthy on a budget, buying food, how the inflation is affecting everything, food prices are going up. And this is affecting so many communities out there, including the Asian Pacific Islander community as well here in Southern Nevada. So we really want to get into this topic. This is something that affects us on an everyday basis. And we do have an expert with us on the show today. She is Rose Peterson. She is a local certified nutrition and fitness expert. She also runs a small business here in town called the Fit and Confident Academy. Rose Peterson has been on our show before talking about health and wellness. So Rose, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you. So first, people have never heard of you, have never worked with you, never seen you on social. Tell me about your story and about the Fit and Confident Academy, because this kind of goes on into what you do and how you help your clients, especially when it comes to good nutrition, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Fit and Confident Academy really was born out of my own fitness journey and my struggles with trying to find the right diet and exercise program to get my pre-baby body back. And, as becoming a mom, there's this identity shift that happens. And there's a struggle to figure out whether, you can make time for fitness, making time for making changes to your nutrition and caring for your families. So through my own struggles of trying to figure out what was the right thing to do, I end up hiring a coach myself, a nutrition coach and personal trainer, and realized that it did not have to be as hard as it was. And with the right guidance and support and programming, that it could be enjoyable and fun, and I can include my favorite foods. And through my own journey of strengthening myself, I realized I had a lot of confidence in being able to find myself again after motherhood. And so that's kind of how Fit and Confident Academy was born, is that I wanted to shout from the rooftops to every mom and woman I know that it did not have to be that hard, and that working out didn't have to be punishing. It could actually be enjoyable, and eating healthy could include the foods that you love. So that's kind of how Fit and Confident Academy was born.
No, I love it. And, talking today about how, food prices are affecting all the families out there. I know ACDC, the Asian Community Development Council, the nonprofit that puts on this program, they really are trying to help, families out there. And we've talked about this before. They have their food distribution program. It is Tuesday, Thursday, 10 to noon. We'll talk about this again and remind people, and every other Saturday, 10 to noon as well. So what's really great about that is they're aware. This pandemic has hurt so many people financially, especially, but there are everyday tips that I think we want to talk about today and hopefully get some guidance from you, Rose, because you're a family and you have 3 kids, and you and your husband are working together, of course, so you think about this. And I'm sure with your clients, when they come to you and talking about ways to improve their diet and nutrition, that becomes part of the conversation too, right, Rose, when it comes to kind of putting that into their budget while trying to eat healthy, but also staying on the budget.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a misconception out there that eating healthy costs more. And yes, food prices are going up. So now more and more families are more aware than ever of where their dollars go. And so today I was really hoping to share some tips on how to stay eating healthy on a budget, coming from a mom of 3. I mean, we're a family of 5. And so there's a lot of cooking involved, but there's also some eating out too, because let's be honest, we don't always want to eat at home. Mm-hmm. But I do have some things to share to make it doable so that we can stay within our food budgets.
Yeah. So tell me, first of all, do you set a food budget when it comes to your family? Do you think about that? It's like, okay, when it gets to start, let's try to stay within a budget, and do you work from there?
Yeah, I do. And actually, when I set aside our food budget, I usually prioritize our proteins first, because that's usually what's the most expensive. Mm-hmm. Is I kind of think about okay, how much can I set aside for our proteins, but then also getting creative with there are other things that include protein, like there's protein in our brown rice, there's protein in like beans, and like for the Asian community, we eat like mung beans and quinoa and things that are red beans that carry a lot of protein in there. So a majority of our budget, I think for most people, is with our proteins, because that's the most important part. But then we can get really creative with finding vegetables on a budget, finding bulk grains, and cooking them ahead of time so that we don't resort to eating out.
Yeah, and you have some examples for us, like some of the things that you buy in bulk that, you know, not everything I think would be worth it, but you say some of the things you can buy in bulk and really save money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just grabbed a few things that I just recently shopped for, and like I was blown away. Actually, Costco and Sam's Club and a lot of grocery stores do carry like canned chicken breasts, and this can be, hey, let me see.
Yeah, I've gotten those too. Yeah.
And also, what makes this affordable too is that it's already cooked, so you're saving time, but also it's something that you don't have to take up a whole bunch of room in your freezer or your fridge. You can have proteins on hand in your pantry. And then I love getting, because fish can be expensive, right?
Right.
But it can be really affordable canned and just as nutritious too. So one of the things that we get, that we buy in bulk, are sardines. And these are super nutritious, tons of protein, tons of vitamins in them. And you can use that for a lot of things, right? Like rice, sardines, patis for breakfast.
Yeah, and I love that because, you know, I was just thinking about with this chicken and the sardines you were showing, you know, a lot of like Asian recipes. You can make like Thai style, you know, fish salad. You put fish sauce and chili and lime and onions and stuff like that. And you can make really good kind of healthy, nutritious salads you can eat with rice or without rice or with noodles, you know. So I think just coming up with ideas, and you bring up a really good point that protein, that tends to be kind of the big bulk of somebody's bill, right? And I, you know, I think I read something recently about, you know, how meat prices have gone up 20% or something in the last 6 months. So it really kind of burns into your budget.
Oh, it definitely does. And like, I don't know if you've seen the price of steak recently, but that is another one that's really gone up through the roof. But we can find ways to eat within a budget, and like frozen things are usually also from the freezer aisle are a little more affordable as well. So there's options out there. And I think that a lot of moms and families, we do have to get creative. We're like forced to. And so I'm glad to be here to kind of share some of my tips and tricks and being able to fill in the healthy things. And one of the things that we kind of touched on was what else does my budget go to? So we know that produce, now that since it's being shipped from other places, that the cost of produce is starting to go up as well. And so I think a lot of families, sometimes at the beginning of the week, we get really ambitious and we buy a lot of veggies for our family, but by the end of the week, they just don't look so hot. Right. So I've actually invested, and they're pretty affordable, but I've invested in these containers that help keep your produce fresher longer. And there is a little drainage here. So if your produce needs to have a little water to stay fresh, for example, asparagus does, you can put the water in the tray, but then the asparagus is actually not sitting in the water. So it's going to keep it fresh until it's time to cook it for much longer.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's this container actually also, this is the company's called Progressive. And I bought these at Costco. There's a little guide it's probably hard to see, but there's a guide here that says which vegetables and which fruits require water in the bottom and which don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then they have also like a ventilation system where you can let airflow come through so to prevent any mold or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's a big thing because yes, you want to stay on budget, but a lot of time you end up wasting food, and that's also bad. You know, you try to kind of buy on a budget and then you end up wasting it. So I think that tool is really great. And I didn't even know it existed until you showed it to me. So that's wonderful. And I know you've talked, you know, especially you were on another show this past week talking about, you know, people to kind of carry out and get their food on the go so they don't have to buy out all the time. And you actually talked about this gadget. You can tell us a little bit about it. Not only keeps your food cold, but there are gadgets where you can keep your food warm, right? So you actually don't even need a microwave. It's kind of something like your mini portable stove that you can take with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's, sometimes we have hurdles around like what to bring to work. Some people are like, I don't want to make a sandwich, or like my leftovers are meant to be hot and not cold, but you may be in a place where either your break is super short or you don't have access to a microwave. So this thing is called a Hot Logic Mini, and there's a hot plate in here. And so when I used to work away from the home, I would put in my leftovers, or I'd make a very simple meal with basically just like we said about the frozen things. So I would put like frozen veggies in my meal, maybe a frozen chicken patty, and I would bring a packet of like microwavable rice, and I would put the frozen meal right inside. There's a hot plate inside that actually cooks it. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
Zoom. And then you zip it up, and in about 2 or 3 hours, it would be cooked piping hot. And you don't actually have to worry about it overcooking or anything like that. It just stays warm until it's cooked. And you just plug it right in wherever there is a plug. And when I was looking into ordering one of these, I saw that they have ones that plug into a vehicle as well. So you can cook your food while you're running around town, or if you're doing deliveries all day, you can have that, hot, ready to go when you want to eat it.
It's just amazing, all these gadgets that are out there right now that can help you, and no, it's just really great to just come up with all these ways. And I think, you being a nutrition coach, this has to play into, because that's an investment, right? That people kind of, work with you to kind of get healthy and get fit, but also at the same time, they have to kind of budget every other part of their lives as well. So I'm sure that's part of what goes through. And, talking about, and especially the Asian American experience, I have to kind of bring up the fact that a lot of people don't think about shopping at Asian markets, because a lot of these markets actually have really good deals. Have you had that experience going and shopping with your family?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right. You can get some of the best produce, also the freshest fish for such a great price by shopping at Asian market. And also like such nutritious foods too, because in a regular grocery store, there's not a lot of variety of greens. There's not a lot of variety of like unusual vegetables, but those things that are unusual are actually usually pack quite a nutritious punch. So I like going to the Asian market to find things that I can't find at a regular grocery store. And you're totally right. Much more affordable and welcoming too. Like, I'm only half Filipino, so I look pretty white, especially under the light in here. But I'm always, very welcomed in the store, and it's great to go to Asian market.
Yeah, and I find like, when you talk to the people behind the fish section or whatever, they can actually sometimes fry it for you, or, in a healthier way, steam it. But also, I think importantly, just kind of give you those recipe ideas. When you go to the ready to eat kind of section, you see how they're making the different dishes using the vegetables and the proteins that they find that you can find in the market. So I think that's a really good tip. And also when you're planning out your meals, maybe you talk a little bit about this, Rose, because you have that in your blog, your YouTube channel. You talk about different ways to kind of to make your food more nutritious. What are some of the ways of planning, especially when you have a lot of people in your household?
Oh, absolutely. So this can also help you stay on budget. Is a lot of people, when we think about, saving money, we want to buy in bulk, and buying in bulk, that's going to last us a long time. And when we buy these larger quantities, you get a deal on it. But I think that we get overzealous sometimes, and we buy these things in bulk and we store them away and never use them. Like they'll either get buried in the freezer, or vegetables that end up getting thrown out at the end of the week because there was a deal, like maybe like broccoli was on sale and you bought extra of it. So one of my tips I like to give is to prep in bulk. So not just buy in bulk, but prep in bulk. So when you come home with, say you come home with 4 pounds of chicken, make it right away. So there's a couple things that I like to do. Either I will put the chicken in a frozen Ziploc with a marinade, and there's a lot of great Asian sauces and fish sauce. You could just marinate it in there, and you could freeze it right away. And so when it's time to cook, and you can thaw it out in the freezer overnight, that marinated while it was frozen, and you're more likely to cook that than forget about it because you already prepared it. Or you can grill the chicken, bake it, and then dice it up ready to go for another meal. So I love doing things like that, especially when cooking for a family, sometimes I will just do instead of freezing it, think about 3 recipes I can make for the entire week. Mm-hmm. So there's cookbooks out there. One of them I like is called Cook Once, Eat All Week, where you basically buy one protein and you make 3 different recipes out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you cook once, like maybe get all your vegetables prepped, ready to go, get the proteins ready. And then during the week, you just combine everything each night, and you only spend like 10 minutes each night combining it. So I feel like that could save people money, because by Wednesday, we're tired, we don't want to cook, we're more likely to go eat out. But if we already made preparations to prep in bulk, we're more likely to stick to our healthy eating goals and with our budget, because then we won't be wasting food too.
Yeah, and you're talking about cookbooks, but a lot of these recipes, and I know you shared some on your blog, and if people join kind of your website and YouTube channels, they can get free information online, which I think is, people don't think of that, the kind of resources they can access without having to pay for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have some free giveaways if people ever want to find me on Instagram, send me a message. I have several downloadable PDFs to give people ideas, like 5-minute meal prep, slow cooker stuff. So things that you can eat on a budget and stay healthy. Mm-hmm. There was something that we touched on that I thought of, and now it just popped out of my brain, but it had to do with, there's this rule that I do with people that are trying to eat healthy on a budget and not waste. And it's like the power of 3. And what that is when you go grocery shopping, instead of overbuying, just think of 3 things for the week. So like 3 different proteins, 3 different veggies, and 3 different carbs. Just combining 3 things, like those things can turn into meals. So it's like, let's say chicken, eggs, and like Greek yogurt. And those are your 3 things that you're going to combine into meals, and then 3 veggies and 3 different grains. Because I think that can also help us stay within budget and help us get really creative with the 3 ingredients that we have and stretching that over the week.
I really like that, and yes, and like you said, it gets us to be more creative as well. But I want you to touch on a little, because we talked a little bit about this, about what you should buy that's organic and what's not. And I know there's a list for us to work from, but if you can give some ideas, because, people say, oh, I want to eat healthy, but is it worth buying these things organic, or can I just get the regular kinds? What's your guidance on that?
So number 1 is absolutely, if you want to buy on a budget and you're looking at organic versus not organic, if it's not in your budget to buy organic, don't buy it. So an organic vegetable is going to be just as nutritious as a non-organic or traditionally grown vegetable. They're going to have the same vitamin content. So number 1, I would never want anyone to not buy veggies because they think that organic is better for them, but really it's just the way that it was grown. And there are ways to be able to just, wash your produce really well. Some people like to soak their produce with a little tablespoon of vinegar. Supposedly that's supposed to help clean it and also reduce bacteria and fungus that can make our food spoil faster. So those are ways to make things stretch. That being said, I do have some guidelines that I love to offer people who say, like, well, I do want to buy some organic things. What should I buy? There are these lists that are put out by the EWG, which is short for Environmental Working Group, and it's called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And the Dirty Dozen are fruits and vegetables that have the most pesticides. So those are the ones you might want to consider buying organic, or if it's not in your budget, maybe go the extra mile to make sure you wash it really well.
Yeah.
And then the Clean 15 are items that are still not organic, but they have very few pesticides. So those you can really relax, rest assured that the things that are on the Clean 15 list, you don't have to buy organic. And if you're budgeting dollars, I would definitely not be afraid of getting things off the Clean 15. The other thing that I look at, at the store, chicken breast, this is kind of funny. There's like 3 different types of chicken breast. There's your traditional chicken breast, and then there's chicken breast that say natural, and then there's organic chicken breast. So when I'm looking at my budget, sometimes I go for, actually oftentimes, I'll go for the natural category. And what the natural is that chicken was not fed any antibiotics, and it doesn't have any, and it's hormone free. But just so everyone knows, all chicken now is hormone free. So even if you don't get either one of those, all chicken is hormone free. But the difference with the natural is that it's antibiotic free. So if that's important to you, then you can spend like a little extra money on that. Whereas when you get to the organic, it really jumps up in price. So I usually seek that natural label, but I look for those words that say hormone free and antibiotic free in case it's tricky marketing, because sometimes, you know, things that are labeled natural is just a marketing thing.
Yeah, no, it's really important. And I've started, you know, just in the last few years to be really more mindful of reading those labels, you know, and making sure I get as clean as possible. You know, of course, I'm not perfect, but I think it's a good start. But I wanted to bring up this event before the end of the show because I know, Rose, you will be part of this. This is actually the first annual Run for Rice, Walk for Wellness, 5K, family fun run and walk that's going to be happening on Sunday, May 1st. So it's coming up very soon. We're trying to get the word out about this for anybody who's watching, live and work here in Southern Nevada. Really come out and support. This is going to be happening at the CSN Charleston campus on West Charleston. It's going to be happening from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're inviting everybody to come and be part of this because it goes to a great cause. It's benefiting ACDC's new Happy Medical Center and also the food distribution event that I talked about earlier, where it's happening weekly, where people can come and get food complimentary. You know, you're affected by the pandemic and you need food for your family. So this Run for Rice, Walk for Wellness, and Rose, you're going to be taking part because we're still accepting sponsors and vendors and people to come, and you're going to be there, right, to share some of these guidelines, fitness and nutrition tips in person.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to be there, and hopefully if anyone out there is thinking about signing up, it's a really great cause. I know I was there to witness your food distribution area, and it's amazing. And the food that you guys are helping with the community in need are things that are very nutritious and also, you know, culturally appropriate. I think that's a really huge thing is including things from other cultures. But yeah, I'm really excited to support a good cause. I'm telling all my friends and family to come so they can support the good cause. And yeah, people can come down and meet me. I love meeting new people. I love giving nutrition advice. There's so much stuff out there that could be very confusing about nutrition. Just like we talked about, like, what do I need to buy organic? What's okay not to? Like, those are questions that I don't mind answering. Like, please come on over and I would love to help you out.
That's right. Yeah. So if you want more information on this Run for Rice, Walk for Wellness, the first event of its kind here that we're putting on here in Southern Nevada, definitely come meet people like Rose and other vendors. So there's actually food vendors. We're trying to find as many Asian American owned food vendors as possible to be part of this event. So it's going to be really fun and good for the whole family. You know, fun and fitness. That's what we're all about, especially with this event. And Rose, if people want to get more information about what you do and maybe get in touch with you directly, where can they find you?
Well, first you can say hi, hello, add me as a friend on Instagram at Coach Rose Peterson. Also, you can add me as a friend on Facebook, same thing, Coach Rose Peterson. And then my website, just want to make it easy for everybody, it's CoachRosePeterson.com.
Awesome. So easy ways to connect with Coach Rose Peterson. Great nutrition tips, especially staying on a budget. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to leave this with more information. We're going to put up that banner again for the Run for Rice, Walk for Wellness, so that you can come out and support us on Sunday, May 1st, 2022, starting at 8 in the morning. And again, if you want to take advantage of the food distribution program that ACDC has, does. We're getting the word out about that as well. That is happening every Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to 2. You can go to acdcnv.org for more information. Thank you so much for Coach Rose Peterson for joining us on the show today, and we will see you again next week on another episode of Family in Focus.